Hi, this is Amelia Vogler, grounding and energy medicine specialist, and your host in the Energy Magazine exclusive interview series. Today, our guest is Michelle McLemore. Michelle helps people manage stress and decrease disease or dis-ease for her clients to achieve balanced wellness through personalized sessions and workshops. Michelle's developed a stress management course for public high schools, and she's developing several books for various age groups as guides to better health and understanding energy. Michelle is a certified Healing Touch practitioner. She's also got additional training in sacred geometry, Reiki, and Native American healing. As a retired psychology teacher, Michelle shares her holistic experiences in various publications. You'll find her writing in the Crazy Wisdom Community Journal, Crazy Wisdom Weekly, Energy Magazine, and also on her website. She has a great blog. So welcome, Michelle.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So I really would love to start with sort of your origin story. Not origin how you got here on the planet, but how'd you get started with energy medicine, energy-based therapies?
Okay, great question. It was about back in 2011, 2010. There was a couple of things going on. I had a diagnosis of systemic lupus, and my father was also dealing with restless leg syndrome. So I happened to go into a local store called the Angel Store and came across a book. Um, the book seemed to be something that would be useful for one of my students, and it was written by Elaine Groman. She's a healer out of Farmington Hills, Michigan. So in it, she explained about healing touch, that she had been trained, and about energy, and that was the first time I'd heard about energy work for the most part. So I booked an appointment with her to check out and find out more about it. And during that session, I could not deny that energy exists and that energy therapies exist. And that was kind of the start. So I went on from there, looked up the website she included. They had a session one within a month. It was fairly local, within a 40-minute drive. It was reasonably priced, and it was a weekend. My husband was already going to be out of town. So I'm like, okay, there's a lot of signs there,
Yeah.
you know. But I like my signs, and so I said, okay, God, I need one more. That's not enough.
Oh, funny.
So I went to bed, and the next morning I came out to the kitchen, and a magazine that should have been thrown away 6 months earlier, 3-inch letters said Healing Touch on it. I was talking about massage, but the fact that it said Healing Touch on, from everything that had transpired the night before, I'm like, okay, I got it. I'm going. And so from there, I did all the trainings, took a Reiki training just to make sure I understood the difference between that and Healing Touch. Went on from there. Elaine Groman, who wrote the original book, she had developed a sacred geometry courses, so I took her as well. And over that time, the energy work that I started doing on myself as well as others, I changed several things in my life. And when I went back to see my rheumatologist after a bit, he said, I don't know what you're doing, Michelle, but you no longer have. You are the 1% we don't tell people about. So that's my first thing is energy medicine, energy therapy can do amazing things. And don't ever buy the, you will have this forever.
Wow, that's a great story.
Yeah.
So Michelle, I'm curious when somebody comes to you and says, "What's the difference between healing touch and Reiki?" How do you answer that question?
So for all the energy modalities, I like to focus on what's similar across all of them first. So I talk about the energy system, the energy anatomy, explain that science has proven that it exists. Our technology is now up to date, and we can prove without a doubt that the meridians that the Chinese have been using acupuncture for 3,000 years actually is a thing. I go through and on my brochures, I give them the science, the names, the research studies that prove all these different things. So for the comparison between Reiki and Healing Touch, I talk about the main chakras that are used to talk about the fact that you're trying to balance and clear. balance is the key thing for everyone. That has to come before interventions. But then I explained that Reiki came from a Buddhist monk originally, and enlightenment through his enlightened state. That until just recently, I understand, it was the practice that a Reiki teacher had to imbibe the healing ability to his or her student. Healing touch. And I love this. And I tell everybody, you know what? The nurse has figured it out. It's just how we're born. Anybody can do this, and all you need is right here and pretty much the heart and focus. And it's natural. I mean, it's what mother instinctively does for a child. Child falls. What do? You put your hands on the boo-boo location. When he's having a struggle, what do? You hold them. Where you hold them at, your chakras are lining up and you're doing the work. It's a very natural thing. I do tell them about that Reiki uses different symbols that you draw over the body or on the walls or in the air around, and that the symbols are different vibrational power to assist with the work. But I explained to my clients that healing touch and sacred geometry pretty much do everything I need. So it's rare that I actually use the Reiki.
Ah, I see. Oh, Michelle, that was such a great answer. So many people ask that question, and so I thought it would be nice to hear another perspective and another, I don't want to call it like elevator speech, but, it's a really great introduction because I think there's a lot of confusion out there about healing touch and Reiki. So I'm curious, I was on your website, which is lovely, and you've got a lot of great blog posts and information on there. And I noticed that you list yourself as a guide. And I'm just curious what that means to you and how you kind of landed in the guide place of this work and not a practitioner or facilitator.
Good question. That goes straight to my journey. Early on in the training, people were talking about healing, and healing makes sense to me. We are in a constant state of trying to heal because we're in a constant state of living, and things are happening all the time to us and around us and within us. But using the word healer didn't sit right with me for a while, and I had to really ponder why. I recently wrote a blog in Crazy Wisdom, or it actually for their journal just now, and it talks about all the different labels people have tried to assign to me throughout this healing.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, are you a witch? Are you a shaman? Are you a healer? And then what are all these connotations that come along with these labels? And when I really stopped to think about what I was doing, my actual practice with my clients, it's really just about being a guide, because I try to empower them to find out, okay, what's causing my disease or muscles or discomfort on any level. We can fix that. And then I teach them proactive strategies so they basically transition their life so they don't need it, which is something different than some different modalities. Sign people up, I'll see you next week, or I'll see you 3 times a week for whatever. And I thought the point of healing is to heal. Well, eventually they're not going to need me, right? Which is great and sad because I love watching people's journey. But it really is just about guiding them to healthier habits, understanding themselves, and letting them get on with life.
Yeah, so empowering. So I'm curious about, this was in another one of your blog posts, which I really enjoyed reading, and I recommend people coming to your website and taking a look at them. But you were talking about, in this particular one, ahead of your sessions, you do a preparatory grounding. And I'm curious what that looks like for you.
For me, how do I prepare for it? That's what you're asking. Okay.
It might change, but I'm just curious.
No, that's, again, it's a great question. And actually, one of the things I tell my clients who come to me is I want them to ask any question that they want. And if they go to any other energy healers, I specifically tell my clients, whenever you go, I encourage you to ask their spiritual background and beliefs. Even though healing touch itself is not based on background, we do address the physical, mental, emotional, and physical aspects of life and pass it down. So in preparing myself, make sure that my space, my office space, is packed and clear. Sometimes we use holy water. Sometimes I use a mixture of the herbs. We usually smudge with sage, white sage. But there's actually 4 different herbs that grandmother Sasa says if you're going to sage, you need to. So I'm very mindful of what am I trying to clear. I clear the space so it is comfortable for whoever's coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, of course, now everyone's more conscientious of the different germs and things, so I disinfect that stuff, make sure it's clear that way. But for myself, as far as grounding, I use the Hara alignment meditation.
Uh-huh.
I make sure that if it's been a while, I do the chakra spell connection. Those 2, and basically some prayers that I say at the end, okay, am I good to go? And I'll get the response. Well, okay, here we go.
I love that. Michelle, for those people who aren't in Healing Touch or haven't, don't have that in their background, would you like to lead a very short Hara alignment meditation, or maybe just talk to or speak to the points that you do, because it is such a powerful anchoring.
I think for people who are, with all respect, I think for the people who are not versed in Healing Touch, just a simple tree meditation might be easier for them to access.
Sure.
And I do have a video on my Facebook website and so forth. Would you like me to do a quick guidance for that?
Yeah, that would be great.
That's the one I actually teach my clients to do in between time.
Sure.
As part of that, so. And I have taught my students, high school students, to do this too.
Oh, so, lovely. Okay.
So you can stand or you can sit, your choice.
Okay.
All right, I would ask everybody to go ahead and get comfortable. You're going to want the feet flat on the floor. All right, you're crossing your legs or crossing your knees. The energy needs to run straight through. Okay, so feet flat. Doesn't matter if you're have shoes on. Doesn't matter if you're inside on the carpet, because the science has now proven that actually, when we all learned that there was 3 states of matter, solid, liquid, gas, we now have the technology to know that solid really isn't as solid as we used to think. So energy can spread. There's a lot of space between all the molecules. Okay? So it doesn't matter if you're even in an airplane, over a bridge in the car, you can ground any. You want to have good posture. So you're going to take a minute, bring your shoulders up to your ears, roll them back, down. You can close your eyes and just do a half close, looking about in front of you if you like, but you want to relax as well. And take a slow inhale. Slow exhale. Draw your attention to the bottom of the soles of your feet. I'm going to ask you to open. Imagine the center's open like an old-time camera. The bottom of your feet. And then I want you to think of a tree. Any tree that comes to your mind. Be it pine, oak, whatever tree you have an affinity to, and it'll probably one will come to you fairly. I want you to imagine being that tree. And through those open spots at the bottom of our feet, send down roots. Like a tree. Send those roots down through the floor, whatever area you're at, down deep, and down into the warm, moist soil. And a little further down, and at the ends, those roots are going to melt. Imagine them spreading out a little bit further. A little bit. A deep breath in. And exhale. Right. Just like a tree gets its nourishment and its water often through the ground. And energy from the ground, the earth's energy. Because Earth is so much larger than us. Has plenty to give, and we work with for part of the cycle. So like a tree, I ask you to imagine little droplets of white. Imagine like water drops white droplets are going to start coming toward your rooted fingers. And those little droplets are eventually going to become streams. They're going to come slowly, each of those finger-like tendrils, finger-like roots into your system. You're going to draw those toward the bottom of your feet, and these little continuous energy are going to circle through your ankles. So deep. Energy all the time is still circling because we invited it there. It's going to circle through in between the muscles, tendons, bones to the blood. We're going to draw and invite energy from the calves, the front and the back and sides of our legs, all the way to our knees, all through our knee joints. Energy reinforced, and now that streams of energy is through all the muscles, tendons, all the places, and up into our hips on both sides. It's going to circle there. Another breath. Now that energy both hips is going to come and it's going to center right there. Going to on the chakras there, the root chakra. Going to take a breath up. Going to draw that all the way up there. Going to our root, our sacral, our solar plexus, our heart chakras, and it's going to come up your notch at your neck. Take a breath. We're going to intend that energy comes across our down both arms, and run up and down each joint, and then slowly coming back up with our elbows back to our shoulders. All the joints rejoin at our neck. Back is the back of your neck, all the way up to the top of your head. And you're going to out like it's out and come back down to go ahead and open your eyes. And if you'd like, go ahead and take a minute, draw your attention back to your feet and ask yourself what sensation you're feeling. If you feel tingles, you might feel the heaviness, lightness. People might feel like what's going on. That's your energy.
That's lovely, Michelle. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm curious, I noticed on your website also you do a lot of work with lucid dreaming. And you were saying that it provides a virtual playground to conquer our waking fears. And you do different types of coaching through relaxation processes and setting intentions, so that when you're in dream time, you start processing through. And so I'm just curious, how your process works in coaching, and how lucid dreaming has come into your practice, and what you invite people to use it for.
How to do that? Sure. Great question. So I've always been a dreamer, very intense dreams, dreaming at different levels, and through my personal practice, personal life, I've come to realize there are actually different levels or states of dreams. And we have the some that are just pure entertainment. We have some that are processing of what's happened throughout the day, or things that we're worried about. But then we also have other dreams where we can meet those who have passed on, or we can communicate with people who are still living, where we can travel, do all these different types of states. So I was actually working with someone with generalized anxiety disorder, and she kept having some reoccurring dreams. And so I helped her start analyzing her dreams, started looking for the patterns, looking for the life connections. And then with lucid dreaming, I introduced to her, okay, well, first of all, how do you improve your sleep? Second, then, how do you set your intention to remember your dreams? How do you set your intention to not wake yourself up when you realize you are dreaming? Because that's a big thing for everybody. When you suddenly have that, oh, I'm dreaming. Usually people get so excited that they pull themselves out of the dream. So so then realizing, okay, how do you make sure that you stay in your dream at that point for as long as you want to, and knowing that you can also wake yourself out of a dream if it's going a way that you don't feel you can handle. And then we talked about what are slow steps to start using lucid dreaming, that awareness that you are within a dream, to make changes to your dream. And so this is where you can practice. You might be having a nightmare, you might be having maybe it's not full nightmare, but it's one of those annoying dreams, and you recognize it, you're in it again, here again, okay, I know this is going to happen eventually, and this and this, and before I wake up. Well, you can do small things and start modifying the dream. And so for my client, it was how to reduce her anxiety, how to help her feel empowered, how to help her realize that she doesn't have to continually take on a family member's disappointment or projection, and then feel helpless about it. So it was really about, okay, get her to those steps where she can stay in the dream, know she's in a dream, and then, okay, what do you want to change? What's one thing that we can do? And, helping her create the dream journal where she can then, upon waking, remember it, write down her progress, and keep advancing until she no longer had to have those dreams, because she had reconciled that she could make changes, and then in real life transferring that to, okay, so what are you going to say to this person, or how are you going to handle it? And so that played out. So it gave her confidence within that she could say and do and it changed, that life wasn't 100% scripted, that it had to be where she felt anxious or scared or not enough.
Yeah.
Take control of her.
Oh, I need to see you for that. I have this one dream of not being able to graduate because I didn't pass Spanish class. And I have that
Spanish for you. It was always math for me.
Oh my God, I had that dream 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it was like I was convinced I hadn't graduated and I was going to have to go back to Spanish class, and I went, "How old are you?" It's like ridiculous. How old are you? Yeah, I think you made it. It's such a strange sensation to kind of arise after a dream like that. So I'm wondering, Michelle, in terms of setting an intention to invoke lucid dreaming, do you do that every night? Is that something like, if I want to work on this dream that comes every once in a while, would I do it, each evening?
How often do you actually dream that you remember your dreams? Because we know everybody dreams, you just may not remember it.
Yeah, so I hardly ever. Yeah.
So that's what you have to work on first. And so we would look at, okay, what's your sleep pattern? What's as far as leading up to sleep? What's your waking pattern? Because how we wake up can interrupt our recall. So it's setting those patterns first.
I understand.
And setting your intention to remember. And once you get into the process of remembering your dreams, then you can move into, okay, now I remember them. Now I'm going to set my intention to know that I'm dreaming when I'm dreaming.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting, Michelle. I know that you have a neat article coming up in Energy Magazine, and it deals with healthcare or healing care for the terminally ill, or those people who are in a hospice, have a hospice diagnosis. So I'm wondering, what's maybe there's an opportunity for a little preview of that material. It's such interesting. Such an interesting topic.
So I took the stance of it as a case study. So sharing about one particular instance, one particular client I'd worked with for a couple of years. And I don't know how much to give away. So, so the article covers this woman's life, why she came to me initially, her healing. Then when she came back, she had initially had breast cancer, and so she came to see me after her double mastectomy. And she had also woken up they had given her a colostomy bag. So they had gone in and done some other stuff. So she had initially come to me about body image and how to cope with the shock and the depression and all this stuff. So we got her feeling great. And so I talk about some of the techniques and the variety, mind, body, spirit things that we did. And then she comes back and sees me later because she has cancer return now in another spot. Mm. And so it's a process then of what does she want? What's her life goals? What are her needs? And is there anything left she needs to come to terms with? How to help her with that? How does she view the next step and what transitioning means? And so I was talking about that, having those conversations and different activities and strategies to help her with family. And then leading up to when things are very difficult, as we're getting closer to the end, what kind of techniques and strategies to use. I also put in things that caregivers can do to help the environment, things that can be done to help family members. So pretty much the whole process, because to me, it doesn't matter if it's cancer or just normal aging out physically and ready to move on. It's again looking at the whole care package and making sure that wherever that person is physically, the environment around them, but as well as themselves, how can we help the transition go the most beautifully that it can? Because that's and I think for the different people I've worked with at the end of life, once they get to that point where they've processed enough different things and they realize they don't have to be cared. Yes, there's going to be some physical discomfort perhaps along the way, and watching the family go through their discomfort, that's always different from the person who is terminal. But having and allowing this conversation, allowing the feeling, getting it all outside, a huge thing psychology-wise, emotional-wise, dream-wise, is either verbalizing it or writing it down, but getting it outside of the body, acknowledge it, so then constellation down. So I think it's caregivers for end of life. It's the most beautiful gift, and you if you're paying attention, you get out, you get back from the person you're working with as much as they're gaining from you in their care. It's beautiful work.
Yeah, it is beautiful work. Michelle, throughout our conversation, I've heard about, your different clients who have come to you. And I always kind of assume that those individuals know a little bit about energy healing or energy medicine. But then there's that whole other population of people who are kind of the non-believers. So I'm curious if in your career, if you have any gifts that you can share around how to educate kind of the non-believers of energy healing, or if you have any strategies or key phrases.
So, can I tell you a quick story?
Of course.
So, just a couple months ago, I wrote this one's on this blog post yet or not, but a few months ago, I saw a woman from my village, and she was limping around. We were there to help a fundraiser, and asked her what was wrong. She said, she just woke up one day like that, had been extremely painful in her heel for a couple of weeks. And I said, well, take a seat and let me work on you. And we'd never had conversations about energy work at all. She had known that I'd been at different business venues and workshops and things like that. She really didn't have me firsthand positive. She's kind of, oh no. I said, yeah, I won't be back up later, blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, well, if you change your mind, because you're in a lot of pain and I don't think you need to be, I give her my card. And well, following Saturday, get a phone call. Michelle, I'm desperate. I don't know what to do, but will you come see if you can help me? I went to her house and worked on her maybe for 20 minutes. Her husband kept walking by the doorway, and I invited him. I said, you might as well come in and sit down so you can help me when I'm gone. And I worked on her, and you know, it doesn't always happen, but a lot of times when you're working with a client, you can start to see the physical change in their face.
Yeah.
They just get more and more relaxed, and their skin starts to glow a little bit. And you can see it's almost palpable. You can see their mind working like, what the heck's going on? This is fabulous, and I don't know what's happening. And so she got relaxed. It's okay, you can go to sleep if you want to, but if you can't, no, I'm not going to fall asleep. She hadn't slept in like 2-3 days because of the pain. So in about 20-25 minutes,
I could feel her getting tired in your story.
so she just, was just more and more relaxed. And I always do a what's your pain level before and after type of job. And so I asked her, okay, describe what you're feeling now. And she's, gave me, it was much reduced. It was down to like a 2, 2 or 1. I said, okay, so you're going to do, I gave her self-care stuff, additional things to do. I said, but you're going to sit there for at least 30 minutes, and it's okay if you fall asleep. Of course, she did after I left. And I gave her some other things to do when she woke up. And the next morning she calls me and she says, Michelle, be an apology. I went, what? What did you do? Why did you owe me an apology? She said, because I didn't think it. And I told her, I said, we don't know what we don't know until we know. And so that's her big thing. For some people, they won't know and they won't try it until they're out of all their options. And then they'll go, holy cow, what's that? And at that moment, it's for them to decide if they're going to hold on to that new reality or if they're going to brush it away.
Yeah.
We'll brush it away until they come to crisis again. And then they'll go, oh, yeah, that thing that helped. Some people from that point on, when they've had that change and they felt the difference, it'll be that state. It'll be there always knowing reality is different. And it's cooler and wonderful and easy. What are they going to do with that knowledge? That's what I say. And that's when I had my stress management class at the high school that I taught. I taught them about energy work. I taught them energy, the anatomy, and some basic things. You got a headache, try this. You just hit your, bumped your elbow, try this. Friends got back pain, do this. And I gave them basics and the parameters. But I said, here's the big thing. Now you know. Now you know the difference. And what are you going to do with it? I always go from a science viewpoint for those who are really hesitant. This is what's been proven. You trust science. This is what has been proven now. If they're worried about spiritual aspects, I say, okay, just how laying on of hands has been done for years across these different cultures. That covers the majority of people right there. You're either going the science route or you're going, this is how people care for each other in indigenous life, Western medicine. This is reality. So hopefully something works for the rest of everybody.
Cool. Michelle, thank you. This has been such a nice conversation. My last question is really general, but I'm just curious, how can people find you? What sort of people, do you love to work with? Like different, presentations of energy. If you have any new cool things coming up in the future, just tell us a little bit about, where you are, how to reach you, and what you're up to.
Easiest is to either send me a Facebook message or actually text me. My number is 517-270-0986. On Facebook, you can Google Michelle McLemore Healing Guide, or you can go on regular internet for michellemclemore.com. So spells and Michelle. I'm slowly building that site. But as far as anything, I do face-to-face as well as virtual. I've worked on people in Italy and Florida and California and Iraq. It's for people who aren't familiar with remote sessions, it is you still get the same benefit. The energy is amazing. You don't have to be physically in the room. You don't have to have hands physically touching. It's So like, so call me, message
Great.
me, find out, ask more questions as you'd like. But I'm still writing more, still working on developing online courses that people can take. I still offer workshops on a variety of topics. So
Lovely. Well, Michelle, thank you so much for your time today. I've really enjoyed talking with you. And for those of you watching the video, we'll keep Michelle's links right below us here. So click on that and find her on her Facebook page. And thank you so much.
thank you very much. You take care.
You too.